Good evening and welcome to Comfort and Courage. I'm Father Jim Perra, the rector of Grace Episcopal Church in Traverse City, Michigan. And I'm going to sneeze. It's going to happen. But as I've been teaching my toddler Danny, I found my cough pocket right here in my elbow. So I'm glad you're with me tonight. It's going to be kind of a little bit of a different evening. We are going to pray using our Book of Days, Celtic Treasure by J. Philip Newell. But I'm going to kind of go over a letter that I sent out by email earlier today. For those of you who do not know, we are entering into what the Diocese of Eastern, Western Michigan, Northern Michigan, and Michigan, all refer to as Phase 2. Phase 2 is the beginning of us being able to worship together in person, but that comes with many, many strings of safety, social distancing, and masking and whatnot to make happen. So I want to keep people informed, so I'm going to kind of go through the bullet points of what we've got for that during our time of reflection. And I will also go ahead and I will wait a few moments and answer any questions that any live viewers might have. In the meantime, however, let us take a few breaths. Center ourselves. Now we'll light our candle. Today, in the sequence that we've chosen, is day 7 of a week that is called the Good News of Jesus. Interestingly enough, of course, the ending of the Good News of Jesus is an interesting time. It's the resurrection. Let's begin to pray. We light a light in the name of the God who creates life, in the name of the Savior who loves life, in the name of the Spirit who is the fire of life. Let us be still and aware of God's presence within us and all around us. There was a garden in the place where Jesus was crucified, and in the garden was a tomb in which Jesus' body was laid. He was wrapped in linen cloths with a precious mixture of myrrh and spices. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still very dark, Mary Magdalene came to the garden. She saw that the stone had been rolled away from the tomb, and so she ran to tell Peter and the disciple whom Jesus loved. "They have taken the Master from the tomb," she said, "and I do not know where they have laid him." Then the 2 disciples hurried to the garden and found the tomb empty. Apart from the linen cloths that had been used to wrap Jesus' body, Mary remained in the garden after the disciples had gone, and she stood weeping outside the tomb. But as she wept, she looked into the tomb and saw the 2 angels of light. They were sitting where the body had been laid, one at the head and the other at the foot. And then she turned around and saw him, Jesus, but she did not know that it was Jesus. He said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping, and who are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, Mary said, "Sir, if you have carried the body away, please tell me where you have laid him." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." And she recognized his voice and said, "Teacher." "Do not try to hold me," said Jesus, "for I am returning to God. Tell the disciples what you have seen and say to them, I am going to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." So Mary Magdalene went and said to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." This was the first sign that Jesus did after his death, and he revealed his presence to them. There are many other things that could be told about Jesus, but if every one of them were reported, I suppose the world could not contain the books that would be written. That is a paraphrase of the 20th chapter of the Gospel according to John. Kind of an appropriate piece of scripture as we prepare to come back into an experience of in-person worship that won't quite feel like worship has always felt. I often use the story that we read just then when I'm working with congregations, or when I've been, consulting with congregations that need to make some sort of radical change in themselves. I might have used this example in a sermon here. I can't remember, but essentially this thing happens where Mary finds Jesus and she recognizes that it's him. And of course, because she loves him, she wants to throw her arms around him. And he says, "Mary, don't touch me. I'm going to go to my Father." I think that there is something about that is both heartbreaking and hopeful, that in Jesus' resurrection, there is always transformation. There is always a change in relationship. And to some extent, that's what we're about to experience as we come back together again. That there will be changes in the way that we experience each other in worship. And there will be joy, and there will be resurrection, and there will be some challenge. Maybe not heartbreak, and maybe we'll be able to return to the way things have been in due time, but certainly it will be challenging for a moment. So here's what I sent. Here's the gist of the letter that I sent the congregation today. And I'm going to go ahead right now, actually, and I will drop the link into our comment feed. And let's see if it works with both. Yep, it appears to have worked with both YouTube and Facebook. That doesn't always happen. It's working today. That's good. But the long story short is that we will be beginning in-person worship following guidelines that include social distancing and wearing masks, no physical contact during the passing of the peace, probably no congregational singing, and we will have our primary service outdoors. And we'll start that in person on July 4th and 5th. But one change from the original plan, as you may have heard it, is that we will be able to share communion, which, at least for me, is wonderful and heartening. I've really missed being able to share Holy Communion with you all, and I just cannot wait to do so on July 4th and 5th. I think, it's just, I suspect there was method in the diocese madness in scheduling this on the weekend of a major holiday, July 4th. I think that their idea is that it will probably mean that many people will either be out of town or have other plans, and so we'll be able to kind of do, not a dry run, but the first time that we do these things in person, there'll be fewer people to work with, and we'll kind of be able to have the opportunity to get to tweak things before we have more people. That said, if you're in town and you are able, please come to worship. I miss you. We all miss you. One thing to know is that also church ministry teams, whether you're whatever sort of ministry you are, you can go ahead and call the office or email and see if you can reserve either the sanctuary or the parish hall if you want to have an in-person event or a meeting. We need to do social distancing, and really only the parish hall and the sanctuary are the rooms large enough to do that with any number of people. But it's good to have that option. And do remember, if you are the chairperson of one of our sort of regular committees, finance, foundation, vestry, pastoral, whatever, we're going to go ahead and we're all going to have at least hybrid meetings. So if you decide to start meeting in person and doing social distancing, we're going to set up the parish hall so that you'll have a large screen TV and a computer with a camera so that people can zoom into the meeting from home, and you can kind of have it both ways, which is good. It's good to have things both ways sometimes. It's good to have your cake and eat it too. So Saturdays at 5 p.m. and Sundays at 8 a.m. for the next few months, we will be having Holy Communion in the Grace Sanctuary. Our 5 p.m. service, I am going to try to add a few pieces to, because it's probably going to end up being our primary streamed service. We're going to stream all of our services as best we can, but for those who are still worshiping from home, which is probably the best choice for a lot of people, we want to make sure that at least one service is really aimed to have a satisfying product there. And so I'm going to try to add maybe some music to the 5 p.m. And so if you're a 5 p.m. person, hopefully you'll enjoy the tweaks, and let me know if you don't. But that's how that's going to be. And we're going to be doing social distancing in the sanctuary. We have these pink Post-it notes, and basically when you walk in, go find your Post-it note, stay there. The 10 a.m. service on Sundays will be in F&M Park, which I think will be really cool. But again, is going to be kind of a new experience, and I'm kind of glad we get a chance to shake it down on the 5th actually. There'll be a grid of pink spray painted dots, and those are your spots. And again, when you come with your family or yourself, whether it's one of you, whether it's 6 of you, you find a dot and you stick to it. We're going to bring a few folding chairs, and we're going to bring a few extra masks. Basically, we're going to have a few extra of everything that people need. But please, if you come to the service of the church, bring a simple cloth mask. If you come to service in the park, bring your simple cloth mask. Also bring whatever the weather will dictate: picnic blanket, collapsible camp chairs, sunscreen, water, whatever. We are going to we're going to do worship rain or shine. If it gets so badly, the weather is so bad for some reason, hail or just absolute downpour, we'll probably cancel completely. We can't just go back to the church. If you read that letter, I think that's most of the news that's fit to print. Right now, I'm just sort of rambling in case there's sort of any questions. The one thing that I want to sort of make clear is that while we're doing this, there is a small amount of risk. And if you are someone who is vulnerable, or you live with someone who's vulnerable, go ahead and stay home. And you will watch us have Eucharist, and we are recruiting, and someone will bring you Eucharist as often as we can at your home in a way that is safe and socially distanced. We want to be adventurous and bold, and we want to be safe and careful, and we want to take care of everyone in a way that is comfortable for them. So that is our goal. Which brings me to the last thing before we go back, and that is another link I'm about to drop into the stream over here. We are doing a survey. And it is a Google Form survey, and basically trying to figure out who is going to be attending which services. You don't need to RSVP. We're just trying to have data with which to guesstimate. And we're also asking people to volunteer for those services, because we're going to need more ushers than usual. We're going to need readers and our normal liturgical pieces. So thank you, and go ahead and think about where you do that. We're also requesting people who will be lay Eucharistic visitors, but this way we're going to kind of make it more of a crash course so we can get the communion delivered, so to speak. All right. Well, thank you for letting me prattle on for a moment, and I don't see any questions popping up. So let us continue and complete our evening's worship. In the silence of our hearts, or in spoken words, let us give thanks for the gift of this day and pray for the life of the world. Coming home, or closer to home, I pray for the Grace Episcopal Church community. I pray that we are able to be joyful and safe, and to take care of one another, and to take care of our community. I pray that we will be able to follow guidelines so that everyone can feel comfortable. And I pray that we have worship that, while it looks and feels a little different than we might have known it, is meaningful and still resonates in our hearts the way that our small c Catholic liturgies do, in the way they're sort of grafted onto our spirits. All right. O Christ, who died yet lives, and who is among us as one who has returned to God, your words speak to us from the center of our hearts. You address us from the garden of our souls. Call us by name that we may recognize you within us and among us. Show us your wounds that in the brokenness of life we may glimpse your resurrection presence. The blessings of heaven, the blessings of earth, the blessings of sea and of sky on those we love this day, and on every human family. The gifts of heaven, the gifts of earth, and the gifts of sea and sky. So we return together in person on July 4th and 5th. This Sunday, same schedule that we've been, but whether you Zoom in on Saturday or YouTube or Facebook in on Sunday, I will be coming to you live from the sanctuary of Grace Episcopal Church. We are able to go and reopen that, dust, I'd say clean up the cobwebs, but Katie, our sexton's been doing a fantastic job while we've all been gone, so it's spotless in there. Anyway, until then, until I see you again, may God's peace be with you.